Hello and welcome to our first ANS live cooking show with Chef Jeremy Senaris. My name is Jen Lopez and I'll be your host today. So we will be calling in Kate as well from the Luca Wines to do our pairing for the dish that Chef Jeremy will be preparing.
So I'm going to be preparing traditional chicken adobo today. I'm sure a lot of Filipinos and people with friends that are Filipino know of this dish. And
yes, so Chef Jeremy is from season 3 and season 7 of MasterChef Canada. And he will be discussing about how to prepare the chosen dish. And this is all for people who wants to learn how to cook the adobo.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's very intermediate. It's a very beginner recipe. There are not very many ingredients at all. And I hope all of you guys are going to follow along.
Okay, so while we can start, but before that, we'll have to. Why did you choose this dish?
I chose this dish because it's a beginner dish. A lot of people call this dish like the national dish of the Philippines, right?
Mm-hmm,
Some people call it that, and it's really one of our more popular dishes, and it's actually super easy to make.
Okay. And while he's preparing the dish, you can message us for your questions.
Yep.
Anything that you have for us for ANS Kitchens as well, and anything for the wines as well. So let's get started.
Sure. Okay, so first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to teach you guys a few techniques while we do this because if I was just to cook adobo and be done with it, we would be done in like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm going to teach you guys some techniques to make you a more efficient cook in the kitchen.
So a lot of people are asking too, like which tools that you can live without in the kitchen.
Well, being a chef, obviously your most important tool are your knives. You have to have sharp knives. It's crucial when you're prepping vegetables and food, and it's also crucial to hone your knives before and after you use them.
Okay. Let's be careful with that.
So the first task that we're going to do for this recipe is I'm going to teach you guys how to break down a whole chicken. I think this is a really essential task that most home cooks should know. It actually saves you money when you buy whole chickens. Okay. And it's just a lot more cost saving, and especially if you're trying to save money, it's cheaper to buy the whole chicken.
So any tips for us for beginner cooks?
Sure. So if you guys want to watch a little bit closely, I'm going to teach you guys how to break down this chicken. Some people get intimidated by it. I feel like it's such an easy task as long as you know where to make your cuts and where to break the bones. So let's get started. So I have my whole chicken here. I have the drumsticks facing to my stomach. You take your knife, you make sure it's sharp, and you make 2 incisions here to cut the skin. Right there and right there, okay? Easy, and then try to get through this membrane here. Okay, and then the next step, see, we have the legs kind of fan open once you make that incision there, right? So what you want to do is take these 2 legs and pop them out of their sockets, right? You see those two bones basically popped right out of their sockets, right? So a lot of people at this point would take those legs off. I like to keep them there to give my chicken stability, right? So first thing you want to do is there along the backbone here, you can feel it in the middle. If you take your knife and run it beside that backbone, just until you get in, your knife will stop. It will stop automatically once it hits that wishbone there. So what I like to do is I turn my knife to a 45-degree angle and I start to cut away at the flesh.
Ooh.
So either side, the breast. Then I take that socket here, there's another bone here that connects the wing and the breast. And there's your first breast with the wing attached. And then we'll go into the other side. Same thing, beside the backbone. Tilt your knife. Use the backbone and the carcass of the chicken to guide your knife through the meat. Then you will be able to expose that bone. That's where you want to cut. See right there? And that gives you your wing and your breast completely free. Okay?
You're making it look so easy.
Thanks. And then, so the last step there now is to take off those thighs. So we already separated them. Now we just got to get them off the carcass there. And this is why it's so important to have a sharp knife. Okay, so do not waste this. This is gold. You can use this. You throw this in the oven and you roast it up to make some chicken broth. So I like to take the skin off of the bottom here. Filipinos love chicharron.
Okay.
So I usually take the skin off of the bottom. So there's your carcass fully broken down. We're going to take these pieces down even further for our chicken adobo. So cut there along the thigh and the drum. And same thing, you'll be able to find that joint there somewhere. And that's what you're always looking for. It's the softest part, right?
Yeah.
We'll break this one down.
So for those who are wondering, we are actually at the beautiful kitchen of ANS at the Design Center. And our kitchens are fully customizable, and some of the ones that are standard to our kitchens are cabinetry options such as maple, oak, and white. Beautiful and easy to clean quartz countertops, undermount sinks. We have tons of storage space and pantry space. We have USB ports on our islands, 4 pot lights and pendant lights. And you have the option for luxury appliance options.
Okay, so here we have our chicken that's been fully broken down. So next step here is we are going to get started on our chicken adobo.
All right, before that, I would like to remind everyone that if you sign up to become a VIP, ANS VIP, you will be automatically entered in our to win a three-course meal for 4 people that's prepared by Chef Senaris in your home, and 2 bottles of wine, a red and white, and also a champagne by the Luca Wines for a value of $800. So go to our anshomes.ca VIP awards and sign up.
So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm going to get some water boiling. Sorry. All right, so this recipe is like super easy. We have literally 6 ingredients. So we have Bay leaves, one of the main flavor profiles of chicken adobo. We have garlic. We have whole peppers. We have some soy sauce and some vinegar, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of fish sauce as well. So first thing we want to do is we want to get our garlic prepped. You can mince this if you want, or you could even just crush it and then put it in there whole. You've made adobo before, right?
Yeah, but do you have to take out the shells or?
You do,
Yeah.
you do. Some people, I mean, if you're lazy, I guess you can put it in there, but yeah, so typically you'll have to take off the peel.
And do you normally use the whole clove for it?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I like my chicken adobo garlicky.
Okay.
And when we braise it down, like, typically, like, I'll cook my adobo for, like, quite a long time. I like it when the chicken is basically, like, falling off the bone, right? But this can also be made quickly. If you use chicken wings, you can make this dish in about 20, 25 minutes.
Okay.
And then it's paired with rice, like we always do.
Rice is life.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna do two. We're gonna do two kinds, right? So it's gonna be traditional, but my cooking style is always about modernizing and like our food is very like stews and rice. It's kind of gotten a bad rap from people about how it doesn't look nice or it's not pretty or whatever, right? So a lot of like young chefs now are trying to
make it more
kind
modern.
Yeah, like they're making our food more presentable to people that are of Filipino descent, right? But yeah, it's about introducing people to our food. Especially here in Winnipeg, right? There's such a big Filipino community. And still, people only know like the basic stuff, like lumpia and like the basic stuff. We have so much other things that we could feed people, right?
Yeah. There's one question here. One is asking if some could remove some of the basic ingredients that you put in there, like sugar. Could they remove that?
You can remove it. The sugar is very like there's not much sugar in the recipe. It's more or less a balancing technique.
Oh, okay.
So because this dish is so vinegar and soy sauce based, depending on how you cook it, like I remember I used to have the problem before where I would cook it and then it would be too salty. Like Diana was saying, right? She was saying that she either makes it too salty and then she adds more vinegar. So basically, like what you're supposed to do is that's what the sugar is for. It's there to balance both the soy and the vinegar. It won't be too sugary at all. But yeah, completely 100%. If you don't eat sugar, you could omit it. You don't need it. Yeah. You can even try substituting it for natural sugar like honey or something. But it's just to balance, right? It's not there to add sweetness to the dish. It's just there to balance the rest of the flavors. Okay, so now that we have that minced, it's literally so easy. It's just about putting the ingredients into the boiling water. So I'm gonna get the chicken in. So we're just gonna go in with all of them, the thighs, the drumsticks, and the wings.
Just put it all there.
Yep, and then we're just gonna bring it to a boil. We could also, at the same time, add our garlic. That's a lot of garlic, but I like it like that. And then bay leaves. It depends on the size of yours. I mean, if you have big bay leaves, I would do maybe 2.
Okay.
Since these are smaller, I'm going to put 4, 4.5. And we are going to do about, I'm totally doing Filipino cooking. I'm not measuring anything that I'm putting in there. But there was a recipe that we shared. Hopefully you could follow along. But the point being is that cooking is about tasting as you go. Recipes are just a baseline, right? So what I like to do is I like to go off, like when I try to figure out something that I want to cook, I figure out the ingredients and then I try cooking it by taste, right? So depending on your own taste, I would put however much pepper you want. My mom used to put like a tablespoon of just whole black pepper into there. And so at this point, we're going to add our vinegar and our soy sauce. I'm not sure, I don't remember, I don't have the recipe with me. I think it was equal parts vinegar and soy. But at the beginning, I would be a little bit light-handed with the soy because we're gonna reduce down this sauce by like quite a bit. So as it reduces, as the liquid reduces, the soy sauce gets saltier and saltier. So that's kind of where a lot of people go wrong. They add a lot of soy sauce right at the beginning, and then they taste it to see if it's salty enough, and then it cooks. All of that water reduces, and then all that's left is soy and salt, right?
Oh, so that makes sense.
So it's better to go a little bit light-handed at first. So I'm gonna start with maybe like half a cup.
There's another question, Chef.
Sure.
They're asking if you can only use chicken legs or just the whole chicken.
You can do a whole chicken if you want. It'll take a lot longer, obviously, and it really depends on your taste, right? Like if you like eating like a leaner meat, then you would go with chicken breast.
Okay.
Right? But yeah, you could do the whole chicken. You could select, like sometimes I'll make the dish with only chicken wings. But yeah, it really depends on your favorite cuts of chicken. You can also do pork. There's also pork adobo. A lot of people do pork belly. That's super delicious too.
Okay. Nadia is asking if we can only use the white vinegar or different kinds of vinegar.
You could use different kinds of vinegar. I know that in the Philippines they use coconut vinegar, and there's so many different types of vinegars. I was taught by my mom, maybe that's a thing of being raised in Canada. Maybe because my parents, they had to kind of adapt cooking, right? Just like all people that migrate to Canada, there's certain things that they can't find.
Right.
So the white vinegar may have been because of that. I'm not sure, but that's kind of the way that I was taught by my mom to do this dish. Yeah, so I'm just gonna quickly clean this off here. Excuse me.
Oh, and there's a question from the
Okay.
asking how much water are we going to put for the boil?
I would put enough water to just cover your chicken, and a little bit more. If you can cover your chicken by 1.5 inches of water. Sorry. If you could cover your chicken by 1.5 inches of water, that should be enough. So it really depends on how much chicken you have. Just make sure that your chicken is fully submerged. Okay, so while we're gonna let that cook, do we have any other questions? Okay, sorry.
Someone is asking what's the cooking time for making an adobo?
It depends. The longer you cook it, the better. We're braising a meat, so obviously when you braise, the longer you braise, the softer the protein that you're cooking. I would say if you're doing pork belly, cook it for at least 45 minutes to an hour. If you're doing big chunks of chicken like that, like drumsticks and the whole thighs, then I would do it around the same, around 45 minutes. You can get away with cooking it for 30 minutes just until it's cooked. Your meat just won't be as tender. Yeah.
Smelling so great in here. And you know what's best with that smell coming? It's wine. You got it. So here is Kate to provide us with some options from the Luca Wines of pairing wines which best suits the food.
Hi guys.
Hey, how's it going?
I am so grateful to be here. I'm Kate Holden from Luca Fine Wines, the entrepreneur behind Luca Fine Wines. I am here today to pair this lovely dish. So I've picked 3 selections. I'm just going to grab them here. So what we have, Spade and Sparrow. It's a Pinot Noir. It's from California. It's actually celebrity endorsed by Caitlin Bristow. But the reason why I chose it, raspberry, it's very fruit forward, strawberries, some rose petals, very velvety tannins. It's one of those wines, when I looked at the recipe, you have soy sauce and vinegar and garlic. So those are really standout flavors. So we really need to balance it so that there's a synergy between the wines. So that's one, Spade and Sparrow. And if you don't like Pinot Noir, don't worry. We have La Galoche Beaujolais, 100% Gamay. It's from the south of France. Again, blackberry, strawberries, brambleberry, blueberries. We have just, again, a really great fruit-forward wine to not overwhelm the chicken, but still balance out that soy and garlic. And if you're not a red wine drinker, we would go to the white. So this is from Canada, Dirty Laundry from the Okanagan, Hush White. It's a perfect blend of Sauvignon Blanc, Gewürztraminer, and Riesling. You've got a lot of orchard fruit on here. You've got some apples. You've got some honeysuckle. So again, it's a perfect balance to complement the chicken and some of the ingredients in here. So these are the 3 that I've chosen. Now, in the world of wine, we can literally pair with so many different grape varieties. So I've definitely selected 3 different wines for every palate. We could even get into the rosé at another time. But if you enter to win A&S VIP, we will pair the wines of your choice to complement the dish that you choose. And you will also get this lovely bottle we brought here of Devenauge. It's a magnum of champagne, 1.5 liters. So the Cordon Bleu, right from France. You definitely won't be disappointed. It's double the bottle, double the fun, double the champs. So the winner, we will get this.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kate.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kate.
Where could they access all this, or do you have a store that they can go to?
Yes, so DeLuca Fine Wines, 942 Portage Avenue. You can actually order online, delucafinewines.com. We would love to see you there and pair any dish that Jeremy or anyone else at home wants to make.
All right,
And
thank
Kate
you.
is also going to be pairing the wines for the dinner that I make if you win the dinner for 4. 3-course dinner for 4 cooked by me and wines by Kate, of course.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
What's
me.
happening now?
So now we're just letting our chicken cook. While we are letting that go, I'm going to show you guys a few techniques. We're going to do 2 versions of the chicken adobo. It's basically the same thing, but it's going to be plated, one, the traditional way with a plate of rice, and the other way is just going to be plated with kind of like the way that I serve it to my clients when they hire me to come cook in their homes. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to make chicken skin chicharron chips. It's super easy as well, very intermediate. As you can see, I took some of the chicken skins off of the chicken breast. So what I have here is I have 2 sheet pans lined with parchment paper. So what we do is we take this chicken skin, and we lay it out flat on this sheet pan.
We do have another question
Sure.
here, Chef. What does it mean to have the dream kitchen for you?
Oh, for me, my dream kitchen would be like I would love to design it myself. I would want to have like if we're talking like dream kitchen, then I'm like building a pizza oven in there, a wood pizza oven, gas range.
Okay.
Multiple burners, like something like that would just not do for me. I would want like a
Bigger
lot
ones?
of like gas range
And
burners.
you can do that with A&S kitchens.
Yeah.
And what's it like after, what's your experience at the Master Chef Canada?
It was great. I mean, it gave me a lot of exposure. I was able to start my small business because of it. Yeah, it kind of changed the trajectory of my life. So, while we're doing that, while we're taking more questions, I'm just gonna finish. So we have the chicken skin on the sheet pan, wax paper. Cover it with another piece of wax paper, and then the other sheet pan, okay? So what we're gonna do with this, we're gonna pop it in the oven here. We're gonna pop it in at 375 for about 15 to 20 minutes. We'll start it off with 15, and then at the 15-minute mark, we'll check it to see if it's starting to crisp up. If not, then we just gotta keep cooking it 5-minute intervals and until it gets crispy.
Okay. We have a question from Nadine. It says, should we always choose the white ones with chicken?
The white,
The white parts of the chicken?
you don't have to. Should we always choose the white one with chicken? The white wine? I'm not sure what their question is. Which wine would go best with a
With
pork
pork
adobo?
adobo.
Kate, which wine do you think would go best with a pork adobo?
Well, I can't wait to answer that one.
It's basically the same flavor profile.
Yep.
Bay leaves, garlic, soy, and vinegar, and then the richness of pork.
So I would totally pair that with a Zinfandel,
Okay.
Meaning a red, very fruit forward. Again, those black fruits, a lot of those blueberries and black currant, a lot of structure, smooth, velvety tannins.
Yeah.
I think that would really polish it off really well. So I would
Okay.
definitely go with a red Zin.
There you
And I
go.
think the question was, what would be best with the white chicken if they chose just the white
If
parts?
they just
or
chose
the-
like the chicken breast, I think it would still be the same flavor profile.
Yeah, I might lean more to a Chardonnay. So you
Okay.
could either go on an unoaked Chardonnay, which has become very popular over the last number of years, but also you could just do a well-rounded California Chardonnay. It's got those tropical fruits, stone fruits.
For sure.
Would really balance out the chicken.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Kate.
you.
Okay.
So I think it's boiling now.
Yep. So we got our thing boiling. I needed to make myself a makeshift lid. So we're just gonna let that braise. We're gonna let that cook for another 15 minutes or so. How much time? So we got time. We're gonna let that braise down. And again, while we are waiting for that to braise, I'm gonna show you guys. Oh, I actually forgot. So here's a little bit of sugar. I'm gonna add like about a teaspoon to the water, and that again, that's just to balance the flavors of the soy and the vinegar. I do always add a tiny pinch of salt too. Even though we already have that soy in there, salt will bring out all the other flavors as well.
And did we put the vinegar already? No.
We did, yep. We put the vinegar and everything. Basically, it's a one stop, like one pot dish.
This is okay.
If you have one of those slow cookers or something, like
You just put it all together?
throw everything in there and let it sit there all day. Like I said, the longer you braise it, the better.
Wonderful.
So, does anybody else have any questions as we're going?
I'm sure the audience would love to know how to be able to book events with you.
Sure.
Or
So, a lot of my business is done by word of mouth and social media. You could follow me on Instagram at onfaya. And yeah, that's basically where most of the people DM me. They can email me at chefjeremysenaris@gmail.com. As of right now, I'm booked for the rest of the year, unfortunately. Actually, not unfortunately, fortunately. But yeah, if you are looking to book with me in the new year, please send an email as soon as you can, and we'll try to get you booked in.
All right, you better get on that, guys.
Okay, so while we're doing that, like I said, we're gonna do two versions of the plate. A fancy plate and then a traditional plate. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of this liquid and we're gonna kind of make a gravy.
Oh, gravy. Have you always loved cooking?
I have. I lost my mom to cancer in 2008, and like my hobby of cooking kind of picked up after she passed away because I was trying to recreate all of the dishes that she used to make for us growing up as kids, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it kind of snowballed into my small business now. But yeah, I was always in the kitchen with her.
For it, though?
No, I'm actually self-taught, and it just goes by my love of food. If I love something and I want to learn how to make it, like I make sure that I learn how to make it, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do, like I said, that's gonna be the gravy for the fancy plate. I have here a potato pav that I previously cooked. So these are just potatoes that have been layered. You bake them, and then you give them a quick fry to crisp up the sides. So it kind of forms its own little French fry, if you want to call it. But it's literally just chips that are stacked up on one another, and then you fry it up after.
And you baked it first?
Yes, we baked it first for about 45 minutes to an hour, just kind of like as long as you would bake a baked potato.
I'm getting hungry.
You could smell it, right? It's starting to fill the air. So one other little trick that I like to do for my adobo, I like to add a little bit of fish sauce into it. It's not required. It already has the salt and the soy in the recipe, so it's kind of already salty. But I like adding a little bit of like fish sauce just to add that extra layer of flavor and umami to it. So just a few drops. I do like maybe like a teaspoon of it. And we'll get going on. So the gravy is basically super easy. It's just the same ingredients, right? It's already like has the chicken in there.
We do have another question. Sure. Can we put veggies in adobo?
You can. There's other kinds of versions of it. Like I know like some people don't call it adobo, but I think once you start adding vegetables to it, it kind of changes it. It becomes a different dish, right? So some people will add red pepper to it, potatoes. Like I'm serving this as the fancy part because some people will put potatoes into
I put
their
eggs
dish.
on mine.
You put eggs in yours?
Yeah.
Like hard-boiled egg, right?
Eggs?
Yeah, so a lot of Filipinos do that as well. So I'm gonna start frying up that potato as well while we have time here. I guess we don't have any tasting spoons, hey? Oh, I'll just do this.
It's boiling so well now.
Yeah. So that needs a little bit more vinegar for me. This one too. A little bit more soy as well.
Okay. Let's see if we have more questions here.
Just give that another taste.
One is asking why we only needed those seasoning. It's not so much a seasoning required in an adobo.
I think I saw this question on Instagram. I think the person that's asking the question may be mistaking the Filipino adobo with the Spanish adobo.
Okay.
Spanish adobo actually has adobo seasoning.
Oh, okay.
But I think our version of this dish is kind of a take on the Spanish adobo. But obviously it's been, because we have a lot of Spanish influence in
Yeah,
our
that's
cuisine, right? So this is actually not a version of the Spanish adobo. This is a purely Filipino chicken adobo that has been adapted from the Spanish adobo.
I see.
Yeah.
One is asking too, what's your favorite dish so far, like making?
My favorite dishes to make, to be honest, like I love making pizza. I also love making sushi. I have so many favorites. I mean, there's too many to name, really. I can't really pinpoint just one. I mean, I love Japanese food. I love Chinese food. Like, growing up a Filipino in Winnipeg, like, born and raised, like, our families, when we wanted to go celebrate, you go to Chinese food. Right? That's where we celebrate birthdays and stuff. You go eat Chinese food. So, I mean, there's so many favorites of mine, but if I was to name a few, it would be like pizza? Sushi, and Filipino food, of course. Yeah. Okay, so this sauce is almost ready. So we're just gonna thicken this sauce here with a little bit of cornstarch, a slurry. So a little bit of water, a little bit of cornstarch. And just make sure that when you add it to your gravy, you're whisking it or swirling the pan so that the cornstarch doesn't chunk up and make a bunch of white chunks in your gravy.
When you're cooking dinner for families, do they usually let you stay to have some?
No. I've had clients before invite me to the dinner table while they're eating, but it's more or less I'm there to cook.
Yeah.
And then clean. You know, I still have to clean and stuff, so I usually just cook and then I'm out of there. Yeah. So we're gonna fry these up, the cut sides down. So we're just gonna let that crisp up on both sides. And how much time do we got? 15 more minutes?
It's 4:30.
Okay. So we have a few more minutes on the chicken skin. And does any...
Okay, we do have another question.
Sure.
How long is adobo good for? Like
Adobo is actually good for a few days shelf life. In the fridge, I would say up to a week. The technique of cooking adobo was actually developed in the Philippines as a means of preservation, right? So not everybody had refrigeration. Obviously, like people in the Philippines are poor. A lot of them are poor. Not people in the Philippines are poor, but a lot of people like back then they didn't have refrigeration. So the vinegar in the dish actually helps to stop the growth of like mold, right? The vinegar actually it kind of like pickles it and preserves it in a way that it lasts longer than your typical food. So I would say safe bet would be like 5 days in the fridge. After that, will probably be no good anymore. Okay, so this one here looks like it's done. Take that off. I don't have a spatula, so please don't mind me using my hands.
I've always seen chef do that, so.
Yeah, I don't have much feelings left in my fingers, so it's fine. It's fine, guys. It's fine. Okay, so we'll get a little bit of paper towel down for our potatoes.
And once it's simmering, do we put it on low fire?
No, you want it to reduce fast. The higher the boil, the faster it will reduce. Obviously, like if you want to cook it for a really long time, if you want to cook it for like an hour, then we'll turn it down. Because we're doing this on short time, I want it to reduce as fast as possible. So we have our chicken skin that looks like it's coming out. So what I will do is I will just check. Okay, looks like it's gonna need a few more minutes. Okay, so we have our potatoes ready.
We have another question here.
Sure.
How long does it, like, do you have a time requirement for booking dinners that you could prepare?
Typically 4 weeks minimum is required. Right now I'm booked into January. So if you want dinners in the new year, I would suggest getting in touch like as soon as possible. Because now that people are able, especially now with the times that we live in, people are more comfortable eating at home. So it's been really busy ever since that the restrictions have eased up a little bit, and I'm able to go and cook in people's homes again. So more and more people are looking to dine that way because not everybody is comfortable yet going to restaurants, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna just start getting ready to plate. We have that there. We will get, actually no.
And that's for the sauce?
Yep.
The gravy?
Yeah, this is basically gonna be for the fancy plated one. We're gonna do a little bit of the chicken breast, which we will take out now. Do we have any more questions?
Let's see. Will you take personal questions?
Depends. What's the question?
They're asking if you're married.
I'm engaged.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's taken then.
I have 2 kids too. 2 little beautiful girls.
All right.
More.
It's boiling well now.
Okay, so if we will get started with the first one.
Do you need my help? Plating?
Oh, so we'll put that there first. So we'll start off with the fancy one. We'll just do a quick, easy plate. Very, very simple. It's still traditional chicken adobo. It's just plated in a fancy way.
Okay.
So I'm just fishing out one of the chicken breasts here.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so we have our chicken breast. We're just gonna do some slices on an angle.
So it's very important to have a really good knife for those, eh?
Yeah, I mean, if you try to cut cooked meat, usually with a dull knife, it'll usually just squish it. So just to be fancy, we'll take a few pieces of that chicken breast, fan it out. So we will fan it out a little bit. So there we have our chicken breast that was cooked with it in the chicken adobo broth, with a potato.
How important is plating?
Plating is super important when it comes to cooking. Everybody eats with their eyes first. Another good way you can finish this off is if you have some microgreens, add a little bit of green to the plate. But yeah, this is our fancy version of the chicken adobo. We will add the chicken skin on top of that once the chicken skin is cooked.
I guess it makes it more palatable.
Exactly. So it adds layers to the dish, right? It adds layers of texture, and it just makes for better eating when you have different textures. Okay. So just give me 1 second. Sorry, guys.
I can't wait to taste it.
Okay.
We have another question.
Sure.
What could be the easy dishes that parents can prepare for their kids? Because now kids are very picky with food, right?
Yeah. So I like to, like, my kids are very adventurous eaters, but they're also kids. They love their cheeseburgers. They love their nuggets, you know. One thing that I found that, like, my kids really love is pasta.
Okay.
It's very easy to make. Alfredo sauce kind of seems like a universal thing for kids. Like, a lot of kids like pasta with Alfredo sauce. My kids love it. But you know, like, I would just experiment, right? Like, get them involved in the kitchen. Get them doing little tasks that are safe for a kid. I feel like getting kids involved that's kind of how I got into food because my mom involved me in the kitchen. I remember rolling like hundreds of lumpias as a kid, right? Like,
and then they probably would taste
and now
what
it's
they
like I
make.
can roll lumpias like with my eyes closed, like hundreds, just easy. But get the kids involved and ask them, right? Like they're their own little people. You got to ask them like what kind of things
That's
do you
what they
want
like.
to eat, right? Obviously, you can't always feed them what they want because then they would always have cheeseburgers and
Cheeseburgers.
chicken nuggets and stuff like that. So we have our chicken skin here. I think it looked crisp enough. Let's just check it out. So basically, what the sheet pan does is it keeps it flat. Typically, what people do with chicharron is they fry it, and then it just
And it
curls
goes
up
through,
into
yeah.
like a little ball, right? Like the
Yeah.
chicken skin chicharron. This kind of keeps it flat and crispy. So what we do here is we just take this, plate it on top of the adobo. Okay.
And now it looks fancy.
So now you have crispy, salty, the potato, and just a whole bunch of different flavors in one dish. So now we'll quickly do up the traditional Filipino one. Obviously, you cannot do it without rice. So
I think this one is cooking well.
all right, okay. So now for the traditional version, super easy.
So much rice.
This is literally how all Filipinos eat their chicken adobo. So if I had more time, I would reduce this even further. And then as you reduce it, the sauce gets a little bit thicker too. I remember as a kid, you would forget that there's
sauce?
whole peppercorns in there, and then
So
bite-
does it always have to be a whole one? You can't.
You
crush it?
don't have to be it doesn't have to be a whole one, but it's, I don't know why. I guess that's
Does
just
it
how.
add more flavor though, or?
I don't think so. I think it basically adds the same. But yeah, I think it's basically the same if you just use ground pepper. I just remember that as a kid, biting into those things and just whatever. But so there you have it.
All right, let's ask
Yeah,
Kate to come and taste it
sure.
as well.
Maybe we should pour the wine with it. Not that I'm
Sure.
pushing wine on
Let's do
everybody.
We should.
Going back to the Hush White from Dirty Laundry, I think this is going to pair beautifully with both dishes. Let's see, I think there's glasses here.
Nice.
So this wine, again, great acidity, like Meyer lemons, orchard fruits, some honey. So I think it's going to be perfect. Let's go. You should have been cooking and drinking while you were doing this at the same time. So I would get you guys to try the wine with the dishes.
Sure.
Okay, so
See if I did a good job pairing it.
I'll give
Or
you.
you
I'm
wanna
gonna.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh,
No, go
I'll
ahead.
give you this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Give it a try.
I'll eat all of it.
Mm.
That's really good.
You like
Don't
it?
And yeah, there's no. It's
Balanced,
not.
right?
Yeah, it's very balanced.
And it's not too salty, not too
Not too
sour,
vinegary. Yeah.
right?
Have you ever had
And-
adobo before?
Yes, I have.
You
I
did.
love adobo.
Okay.
Now try the wine.
Yeah. Oh.
Don't forget.
Mm.
Make sure that it's a nice balance and a synergy.
It is.
I think
it
people
is.
always need to remember when we're pairing wine can totally change
The-
the taste of the food, and food can totally change the taste of the wine.
And we'll let you taste that one too.
Great. What am I gonna do?
There you go.
See if I can get this. Okay.
If you visit anshomes.ca, you can have the recipe to the dishes we just made and instructions on how to make these dishes. Thanks for following along, guys.
Well, there you have it, our first live cooking show with Chef Jeremy Senaris, prepared right here in our ANS kitchens. Thank you, Kate, for bringing the Luca wines here and for pairing really good wines for it. You could find both links to Jeremy and the Luca wines on our website, anshomes.ca. And also you can follow us on our Instagram, ANS Homes. Be sure to sign up to be our VIP and win the amazing prize.
We don't want to forget that
Good
bottle
luck,
of
guys.
champagne.
Yep, you want to win that. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Thank you so much,
you.
guys.
Cheers.